Hello, everybody. I feel like it's been so long since we've been here on a Wednesday. It really has, huh? I'm going to get right into it. Well, actually, first, we're having a state youth rally on March 14th. So I'll remind you guys closer to time, but I want you to know so that you can kind of clear your day for that, because it's going to be a fun time. Our state youth rally. But I'll get permission slips out and everything, so I just want you to have that in your brains so that you can remind me like in 2 weeks when I forgot to get your permission slips, okay? Awesome. Okay, so I want to talk about, do we really want to hear from God? Matthew's going to do some laps behind me. He's having his exercise. No, I'm just kidding. But this is something that I was thinking about a few days ago, because how many times, you guys can answer if you want, how many times have you been like, God, if you would just come sit right here and tell me what to do, that'd be great. Because I don't know what to do next. I don't know where to go. I don't know if this is right or wrong to do. How many times have you said that? Yeah. I feel like I say that all the time because I never know what's right to do. I never know which way I should go. I never know what's going on. I always feel confused. I'm like, oh, but what if I make the wrong decision? It'd be so nice if you were just right here and you would say, go this way. Turn me a little bit, go this way. I've said that a lot. And while it would probably be a lot easier to know what God wanted from us and when He wanted it from us, if He was standing right beside us physically all the time, just telling us, okay, now take a left here, take a right here, go straight for a while, and you got it, right? That'd be so much easier. I don't think, though, that it would really be that easy at all. So what are we asking when we ask to hear from God? That's the question I asked myself the first time. Are we asking Him to confirm what we're already doing? Or what we want? Yeah. Or are we really asking Him to completely change our lives? Because it's kind of a dangerous question when you say, God, I want you to show me where to go next. Because let me tell you, it's most oftentimes not where you wanted to go next. And it's most often not where you thought you were going to go next. It kind of throws you off balance a little bit when it's finally revealed to you. So what do we really want? What are we really asking? Are we saying, I need to know that I'm doing exactly the right thing right now? Are we saying, I want to go over here? Is that okay? Are we saying, this isn't too bad, I'm probably fine, right, God? Right? Reassure me? Or are we saying, I want you to show me where to go, no matter where that is? So, I kind of thought about the big stories in the Bible. You know, there are lots of stories in the Bible. Bible's full of stories. But there are some big stories that stick out. You know, Jonah and the whale, Noah's Ark, the things that we teach the babies in nursery, right? So I started thinking through those stories, and I realized that what happens in the Bible most of the time is that when people audibly hear from God, when God says, hey, do this, they always have to go somewhere and do something, and their lives are always changed. Whenever He makes that call, their lives are always changed radically. So I want to start, I'm going to read some scripture today. I want to start with Noah. Kind of go chronologically with my guys here. I'm going to start with Noah. So what happened when God called Noah to do something? Yeah. So let's read it. Genesis 6, verse 13 through 22. I don't have it up yet. Thank you. Okay. So God said to Noah, I have decided to destroy all living creatures, for they have filled the earth with violence. Yes, I will wipe them all out along with the earth. Build a large boat from cypress wood and waterproof it with tar, inside and out. Then construct decks and stalls throughout its interior. Make the boat 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. Leave an 18-inch opening below the roof all the way around the boat. Put the door on the side and build 3 decks inside the boat, lower, middle, and upper. Look, I am about to cover the earth with a flood that will destroy every living thing that breathes. Everything on earth will die, but I will confirm my covenant with you. So enter the boat, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring a pair of every kind of animal, a male and a female, into the boat with you to keep them alive during the flood. Yes. Pairs of every kind of bird and every kind of animal and every kind of small animal that scurries along the ground will come to you and be kept alive. And be sure to take on board, thank you, enough food for your family and for all the animals. So Noah did everything exactly as God commanded him. Okay. So, first question. Did Noah's life stay the same when God called him to do something? No. The Bible tells us that Noah and his family were ridiculed by the people surrounding them because they were building this huge boat. People didn't even know what a boat was because it didn't rain. They didn't need boats. Noah was, from what I read, minding his own business, following God. You know, he was one of the only people that was following God. Actually, I think the Bible says he was the only person, his family, that were following God at this time. And it seems to me, when I read the story, that Noah was just minding his own business, living his life, when God spoke to him and changed his life completely forever. So, let me ask you again, do you really want to hear from God? Okay, next, Genesis 12, verses 1 through 4. We're going to talk about Abram. The Lord had said to Abram, "Leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who treat you with contempt. All the families on earth will be blessed through you." So Abram departed as the Lord had instructed, and Lot went with him. Abraham was 75 years old when he left Haran. Okay, the Bible again doesn't really tell us what Abram was up to the moments before God spoke to him, but again, it seems like he was kind of minding his own business, just living his life, right? And all of a sudden, God said, "Hey, I need you to do this. I have this great plan for you. I have this great promise for you, but I need you to do this." It doesn't say that Abram asked to hear from God, but what happened? He heard from God, right? He heard from it anyway. Now, was Abram's life ever the same again, if you know his story? Absolutely not. Next, let's talk about another guy. You might know him, Moses. Exodus 3, 1 through 12. Getting my reading time in for today. Okay. One day Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law, Jethro, the priest of Midian. He led the flock far into the wilderness and came to Sinai, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the middle of a bush. Moses stared in amazement. Though the bush was engulfed in flames, it didn't burn up. "This is amazing," Moses said to himself. "Why isn't that bush burning up? I must go see it." "Do not come any closer," the Lord warned. "Take off your sandals, for you are standing on holy ground. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." When Moses heard this, he covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. Then the Lord told him, "I have certainly seen the oppression of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries of distress because of their harsh slave drivers. Yes, I am aware of their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the power of the Egyptians." I can't read that fast. Okay. "From the power of the Egyptians and lead them out of Egypt into their own fertile and spacious land. It is a land flowing with milk and honey, the land where the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites now live." All the ites. Okay. "Look, the cry of the people of Israel has reached me, and I have seen how harshly the Egyptians abused them. Now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh. You must lead my people Israel out of Egypt." How far did we go? 12? Okay. But Moses protested to God, "Who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt?" God answered, "I will be with you, and this is your sign that I am the one who has sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this very mountain." Okay. This story actually literally tells us that Moses was minding his own business, right? He was walking around, he had his sheep with him, he was taking them over here to graze, he was just normal day. Then God called his name specifically. He got his attention with the burning bush, and then he said, "Hey, I have something for you to do. It'll be really great." And Moses was like, "I didn't ask for this. I don't want to do that." But it didn't really matter because Moses had a call in his life, and God called out to him anyway, right? If you know the rest of Moses' story, what does he end up doing? Right. He goes out and he does what God told him to do. He goes to Egypt and he goes to set the Israelites free. Just like Abraham and Noah did. Moses did what God asked of him. I'm also going to give you a New Testament example of one of these guys. I was thinking about a woman that I could find, but the women's stories aren't the standout stories most of the time, and I'm like, listen. Okay, anyway. In the New Testament, in Acts 9, 1 through 9, we're going to talk about one of the big stories. Meanwhile, Saul was uttering threats with every breath and was eager to kill the Lord's followers. So he went to the high priest. He requested letters addressed to the synagogues in Damascus, asking for their cooperation in the arrest of any followers of the way he found there. He wanted to bring them, both men and women, back to Jerusalem in chains. As he was approaching Damascus on this mission, a light from heaven suddenly shone down around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to him, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" "Who are you, Lord?" Lowercase Lord. Saul asked, and the voice replied, "I am Jesus, the one you are persecuting. Now get up and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do." The men with Saul stood speechless, for they heard the sound of someone's voice but saw no one. Saul picked himself up off the ground, but when he opened his eyes, he was blind, so his companions led him by the hand to Damascus. He remained there blind for 3 days and did not eat or drink. Okay. Now, who does Saul go on to become later? Paul, right. One of the greatest missionaries ever. He did some of the greatest work to spread the gospel out all over the world. And what is he doing at the beginning of this story? He's trying to kill Christians. He's seeking them out to take them back in chains so that he can execute them, kill them. Did his life stay the same after God called him by name? No. Absolutely not. I would say that he probably had the most dramatic change in his life. He went from persecuting these Christians and killing them to advocating for God, to spreading the gospel everywhere he went. And every one of these men, though, heard from God. Every one of them was changed forever. When you hear God's plan for your life, you can never really go back to the way you were before. So, do you want to hear from God? Do you really want to hear from God? Because once you hear that plan, once you hear that there's something better for you, once you hear that there's something so special for you in your life, you can't go back to being ordinary. You can, but you're never going to be content with that. Something else that all these men have in common is that after they heard from God, they went out and they did what they were supposed to do. Of course, there are stories with all these men where they messed up, right? Where they didn't quite exactly do what God said, but they went out there and they followed God and they messed up and they repented and they went back on track and they did everything that God asked them to do. They also led blessed and promise-filled lives. And I can bet you they ended up in heaven, right? I can bet that they got the promise. Hearing from God is what we should all hope for as Christians. Maybe you won't hear him audibly, like maybe he won't set the tree in your front yard on fire and call your name out of it. Maybe not. That's never happened to me, but you never know. But it's that feeling that you get, you know? If you know, you know. When you feel that dream that you have, and you start to think like, maybe I could do that. Maybe that could be me. Maybe I could get up there and lead worship. Maybe I could get up there and speak. Maybe I could teach a Sunday school class. When you feel that inside of you and when it's something that the Bible says is right and you know is a right thing to do, that's God. The thing with when you see that dream, when you start to feel that vision in your life, the thing with that is that you're never going to be satisfied with anything else again. And you won't be able to just sit in a pew and be okay with it. You can act like it, but you're never going to be happy with that because you've seen it. You felt it. You felt what it's like to step out in faith and see something actually happen. You can't go back from that. As hard as you try, you can't go back from that. Everyone in here has a purpose. Everyone in here has a dream, has a vision of what their life's going to be. And I'm not saying everyone's dream and vision is going to come true because it probably won't. But God's purpose in your life is greater than anything that you can imagine, anything that I can imagine. And I can promise you that your purpose is not to just sit in a church. It's not just to come on Wednesdays and sit in a church. It's to go out and tell people about Jesus and live your life showing people about Jesus. And hearing from God is a scary thing because it's something you can never go back from, and I get that. Because it's scary to think about that. It's scary to think that your life is going to be completely different. We like to be comfortable and we like to be safe. And what God asks us to do is very rarely ever comfortable. When we hear from God and He turns our world completely upside down and throws everything out of whack, we shouldn't want it to go back to the way it was before.
Right. Man.
What God has for us is so much more special, so much more powerful, so much better than anything that we could ever imagine for ourselves. Anything else that the person next to you could dream up for your life, nothing compared to what God has in store for you. We should ask God to speak to us and to show us what He wants from us, but we need to be prepared for Him to answer. We need to be prepared to listen. We don't need to ask God, what should I do next, if we don't want Him to turn us around. We don't want Him to push us over to the side a little bit and say, go this way. We should prepare to step out in faith like all of these men did. They stepped out in faith. There was absolutely no concrete evidence to them that this is going to work out. No evidence at all. They stepped out and they said, okay, all right, well, I heard a voice from the sky, so I guess anything's possible, sure. So they stepped out in faith and they did it, and what happened? They changed the world. They changed our worlds, because these are the big stories that we learn about in church still. We should prepare to hear God's answer to our question. We should prepare ourselves to change, because God never says, oh, okay, you're fine where you are, you can stay there for 10 more years. He always wants us to grow. We're always getting better, we're always stepping out and doing more and reaching more people and doing more things in the church, and we should always be growing and moving forward. We should prepare when we step out into God's purpose for our lives to only grow better, stronger, and happier. It's scary at first. When you accept it and when you say, okay, I'm going to do this, and you actually do it, you see the results. It's not you step out and fall flat on your face. You see the results. If it's from God, He is with you. So next time you ask that question, because I know we ask that question a lot. Next time you say, God, show me what I should do next. Where should I go? Be prepared to actually hear an answer. It shouldn't just be something that we, say like, oh, God, help me, tell me where to go. Okay, and walk away. No, it should be something that we actually want to hear an answer to. We should want to change, even though, like me, don't like it. I like to stay in one place, not move. But that's not how it works. And it's so much better when you just move, when you just do it, when you just step out. It's so much greater than anything that you could ever imagine. So next time you ask that, make sure you're ready. Because if you're willing to hear it, He'll give you an answer. He'll put people in your path to change your life. He'll give you opportunities that you never thought you would get, that you never thought you wanted. Be prepared. That's all I have. So.